Hello, welcome to the 80 literary and jury charge portion of the class. Today we're going to start out with some jury charge. Okay, everyone ready? Members of the jury, in the course of the proceedings before you, I shall, from time to time, instruct you in the law pertaining to this case. It shall be your duty to follow the law. You must further determine from the evidence the facts of the case, being judicious in your discrimination between fact and allegation. Facts are limited to items of testimony admitted as evidence or stipulated by counsel. On other than direct testimony, counsel will say, "So stipulated." Allegations by counsel or litigants, inferences from questions, hearsay, and all testimony stricken from the record must be ignored as though they had never occurred. If counsel objects to a question and the objection is sustained, you must not conjecture as to the probable answer to the question. On the other hand, any objection to a question which is overruled by me is to be treated as though there had been no objection, and the question is admissible. Okay, I have an article for you. This is called "Don't Sweat the Small Stuff." Here we go. Ready? Often we allow ourselves to get all worked up about things that, upon closer examination, aren't really that big a deal. We focus on little problems and concerns and blow them way out of proportion. A stranger, for example, might cut in front of us in traffic. Rather than let it go and go on with our day, we convince ourselves that we are justified in our anger. We play out an imaginary confrontation in our mind. Many of us might even tell someone else about the incident later on, rather than simply let it go. Why not instead simply allow the driver to have his accident somewhere else? Try to have compassion for the person and remember how painful it is to be in such an enormous hurry. This way, we can maintain our own sense of well-being and avoid taking other people's problems personally. There are many similar small stuff examples that occur every day in our lives, whether we had to wait in line, listen to unfair criticism, or do the lion's share of the work. It pays enormous dividends if we learn not to worry about the little things. So many people spend so much of their life energy sweating the small stuff that they completely lose touch with the magic and beauty of life. When you commit to working toward this goal, you will find that you will have far more energy to be kinder and gentler. I have an article on Jupiter. Okay, this is called Giant Jupiter. See it in September. Here we go. Tonight, if the sky is clear, you can see Jupiter, the biggest planet in the solar system. You can watch it rise. And if you have binoculars, you can see 4 of its moons. You don't need a telescope to do all this. And you don't need to be an expert. From Earth, Jupiter looks like a star, but it isn't really. Stars shine because they are hot and make their own light. Like all of the sun's planets, Jupiter shines simply because it reflects sunlight that is falling onto it. Jupiter circles the sun just as Earth does, but Jupiter is much farther away. Earth is 93 million miles from the sun. Jupiter is 484 million miles from the sun. Because Jupiter is so far away, it takes 12 of Earth's years to complete one orbit. Despite its great distance, Jupiter is very bright. It looks brighter than any star, and it normally outshines every other planet except Venus. Sometimes Mars is also brighter than Jupiter, but usually it isn't. Jupiter is so bright because it is so big. It is 88,800 miles across, 11 times wider than Earth. A planet that size reflects a lot of sunlight. Seeing Jupiter is easy. On a clear night this September, go outside 2 hours after sunset. Face east, the direction opposite where the sun sets. Look at the entire eastern sky and find the brightest star you can see. That bright object is Jupiter. Jupiter will rise, and you can watch it do so. Make a note of where Jupiter is at first. Then come back in an hour. You'll see that Jupiter is higher in the eastern sky. If you were to watch the planet all night, you would see it continue to rise until it reached its high point. Then it would drop slowly down the western sky and set in the west. Jupiter and the other planets rise and set for the same reason the sun does. Because the earth is turning, these objects appear to go around us. Now it's time for a greater challenge: the 4 big moons of Jupiter. You can see them if you have binoculars. Jupiter has 16 known moons that go around it the way the moon orbits Earth. 4 of these moons are big, and they are easy to see with binoculars. The other 12 are much smaller, and you would need a telescope to see them. First, focus the binoculars by pointing them at any star and adjusting the focus so that the star looks like a point. Then hold the binoculars steady. Prop them up against a tree or fence and point them at Jupiter. You should see 3 or 4 tiny points of light lined up beside Jupiter. These points of light are its large moons. Some of the moons might be on one side of the planet, while others might be on the other side. And once during every orbit, each moon passes in front of and behind Jupiter. At those times, you can't see the moon at all. That's why you might not see all 4 moons. Italian astronomer Galilei discovered the 4 moons in 1610 when he pointed a small telescope at Jupiter. Sometimes the 4 moons are called the Galilean Moons in his honor. The moons' names are Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. Several spacecraft have sent back pictures of Jupiter and its moons. One of these spacecraft, appropriately named Galileo, has gone into orbit around the planet. So now we know what the Galilean moons look like. Io is red and orange and yellow. Ganymede is gray, and Callisto is black. You won't be able to tell this through binoculars, since all you'll see are tiny points of light. Jupiter's moons are fun to watch. Each night they're in different places because they move around Jupiter much faster than our moon moves around Earth. Our moon takes about a month to go around Earth, but Io, the fastest of Jupiter's 4 big moons, circles the planet in just 1 day and 18 hours. Even the slowest, Callisto, completes an orbit in just half a month. Each night, you can observe the moons through binoculars and write down where the moons are. Even if you don't want to follow the motions of Jupiter's moons night after night, think what you've done tonight. You've seen the biggest planet in the solar system plus 4 of its moons, all without a telescope. Not bad for a night's work. Okay. I have some Latin and French words, and they're going to be incorporated into this paragraph as well. So I'll give you the words first. Okay, we have mensa et toro. We have certiorari. We have ex post facto. And we also have in limine. Okay, here's your paragraph. Mensa et toro means a legal separation. Several states, including California, use the term separate maintenance rather than a mensa toro. A writ of certiorari is an order requiring a review or inquiry and is exercised in an appellate proceeding. Certiorari is often shortened to cert. Ex post facto means after the fact. An ex post facto law is a doctrine that makes an act a crime after the act has been performed. Mensa et toro means from bed and board. Ex post facto laws are generally prohibited by the Constitution. In limine means on the threshold or about to happen. A motion made at the outset of a trial is a motion in limine. Okay. I have some congressional record here. Okay. Let's see. Here we go. Mr. President, as this year has drawn to a close, what we have been taking or what has been taking place in Eastern Europe is nothing short of a miracle. The free world has stood by in utter amazement while one man, Mr. Gorbachev, has been at the helm of a transformation that has taken people everywhere by surprise. We have seen the War peacefully deconstruct. We have seen the Berlin Wall come tumbling down. We have seen the Iron Curtain crumble. Gorbachev was president of the Soviets and a powerful leader. In some accounts, he is regarded as a hero for challenging ideology that has been around since the time of Stalin. By others, he is regarded as dangerous because he was questioning the philosophy of communism. With remarkable imagination, Yeltsin has embarked on an irreversible and daring course. He is attempting to transform an inherently destructive governmental system. He is trying to break down the old regime and make way for a new Soviet Union, even a new Europe. We as Americans must question his goals. Is he working toward a free Europe and a free international market? The radical changes he has instigated during the last 2 years include the right to free expression and free speech. He is attempting to restructure his own country, to do away with suppression, to do away with threats, to do away with stagnation, and to do away with forced labor. The effects of this revolutionary thinking have been felt in Hungary, Germany, Poland, and China. He has inaugurated these changes in his own country without bloodshed. Mr. President Yeltsin is to be heralded as a breath of fresh air. I highly recommend that we wholeheartedly endorse and support him. Okay, that concludes our literary and jury charge for the day. You have a great day.